So this transfer case has been a pain in my side for quite a while now. I've been having these issues where when I put it in reverse when I'm going in a parking lot, sometimes it'll fall out of gear randomly, but no trouble code. But recently it threw a trouble code of 734, which basically, from my understanding, means it's a transfer case issue. Maybe it's not, but I think it's this tail shaft bushing. I won't know until we actually get this thing cracked apart and take a look. So let's go ahead and crack it open and see what we find inside. So if you look at your tail shaft housing down here, it'll tell you the exact model that you have. Mine's a 263XHD, which just means that it's a push button transfer case versus a manual one. So if you look in the tail shaft, you can see that bearing in there. That's the one that I believe is going to be the thing giving us problems. So the speed sensor is a 19 mil. Should be real easy. Oh man, well that O-ring has seen better days. Go ahead and pop this sucker off since I forgot to do it earlier. There she goes. All right, 3 15mm bolts. Don't know why that's on there so tight. Somebody put some blue Loctite on those bolts. That's why those suckers are so tight. Someone's definitely been in here before. All right, we'll get that sucker out of there. So it looks like there's about 17 of these 15mm bolts, and there's one stud over here that we're gonna have to get off. And that's a 13mm right there. So I just took a piece of wood and kind of propped it up on there so I can have it upright. It's a little bit easier to work with that way. All right, let's do it. All right, there's all the bolts. Okay, so I ended up just laying out all the bolts where they went in alignment with this thing. I'm gonna take a photo with my phone and then lay them out on the bench. This will just make reassembly a lot easier. That's better. So now comes the fun part of getting this thing out. We gotta remove this little plug here. All right, pop that out. So this C-clip here, it's moving around this gear. And what we have to do is we're gonna have to move it and flex it out, which may be hard to do with this. So I do not have the right tool for this, but we're gonna just try to figure it out with one of these. All right, almost got it. So let's get this thing pried open, yeah? There we go. That should help. Okay, that should be good. Okay, so you can see the ring is off the groove there, so now we should be able to wiggle this thing off. Put it there. Okay, there we go. All right, we got that sucker off. So here's an example of one of the pump rub issues. You can kind of see it's a little bit cut in that little corner there. It basically comes from this thing hitting and rubbing as it's turning, and it just cuts through this little magnesium case because it's really, really soft metal, whereas this I believe is some type of aluminum. So one thing that you're gonna wanna get is this set of pliers. I should have mentioned this earlier, but basically these are some extending pliers that are used to get these little horseshoe clips off. So these are called horseshoe pliers. You can buy them on like Merchant Auto and stuff like that, but they upcharge them real bad. I found the exact same sets on Amazon for about $15 to $20. So they're definitely worth it because they're used for getting these little horseshoe clamps off that are really hard to get with just like regular pliers. Like something like this, like good luck. It's gonna take forever. It's a pain in the ass. These ones work really well. You just kind of squeeze them, they open up, and you can get these things right off. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take these in here, put it up against this piece here. Good Lord, that's a pain in the butt. Good Lord, these things suck. What I think it is I think the grease is underneath it, making it stick. There we go. All right. Well, that only took forever. Okay, there we go. That was a pain in the neck, but we got it. So now this should slide right off. All right, that's one bearing. There we go. All right, so we got that hose out. Take the pump off. Take the spring off. So we got two clip rings to get. We got one here and one here. We'll do this one first. There we go. That went actually smoother than I thought it would. We'll get this sucker out here. There we go, got it. Okay, now I should be able to get these sprockets out. Come on now. There we go, all right. Hell yeah. Let's pull out this pickup tube thing, see how the screen looks. Yeah, it looks like there's some chunks in there for sure, so that's not good. Something's definitely been chewed up. Look at that. Oh man. Well, that's not ideal. It looks to me like that is a bunch of gasket material. I bet that was clogging up the screen and probably causing issues with the pump, so that's not great. All right, let's go ahead and slide this fork out, see what we got. See if we see anything funky. Actually, it looks okay. So looking at this, the fork actually looks pretty good. Slide this sucker off. So as you can see, we have another one of those little collars there we gotta get out. Ah. Come on now. These rings do not get easier, that's for sure. So these things are just not opening far enough to actually get it all the way out. So I may have to figure something else out. So I did figure something else out, and what I ended up doing was using some tools that I had laying around to kind of fill the gap between the ring and the pliers since they didn't extend far enough. I ended up using just whatever I had lying around, and it was a pain to get it to work, but eventually I managed to get it pried open enough to where I could get a screwdriver under there and kind of prop it up a bit. This was such a pain, but it is finally there. That's what I get for getting a cheap tool instead of a good one. I was impatient and didn't want to wait for shipping. Oh my god, you would get stuck in there too. Good lord. Oh, thank goodness. That thing was such a pain in the neck. Okay, so now I should be able to slide this sucker off. There we go. Alright, that's that. Alright, I'm going to clean off this thing. We're going to get this detent spring out of here. Let's grab this bolt because it's got a bunch of gunk on it. Make sure we get a nice clean thing on there. It should be a 22, it looks like. Yep, 22 mil. Hell yeah. Might have a little bit of trouble getting that out. That thing got squished in there. Got the bolt out right there. We're going to take out this little spring. And we're going to pop it in there and then go put it on the bench. So it's just like a little spring and a little thing in there. This thing's like pretty dirty. I can tell that this thing's going to need to be cleaned up a bit, but other than that, it's looking pretty good. I'll pull this sucker out real quick. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're going to pull this shaft out. Another little C-clamp on the bottom side of the shaft, so we'll get that sucker out. There we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this up. So the other gear is this bottom piece right here. This just slides right off, and then that's the entirety of the shaft. All right, now we can take this sucker out. Alright, let's take a look at that. Oh man. So it's definitely worn a bit, but it looks okay. Doesn't look too bad. And then this is the piece that goes inside the planetary gear. I think it's actually pretty good. This is chewed up a bit, but other than that, it's not too terrible. I might be able to replace it. Everything else looks good on the fork though, so that's a good sign. Alright, so a couple of things to note here. Number one, we're going to pull these two seals. Number two, it helps if you have a seal puller that actually works. This one is a little bit banged up. So instead we're going to use a screwdriver to kind of pound these things out. Problem is, I only have body hammers right now. So yeah, we're going to just try our best to get these suckers out so we can get the rest out. But bear with me, this is going to suck. So for the first seal, it's very simple because it's just a normal one-piece seal. I basically just used a screwdriver, pick, hammer, whatever I could to just kind of pry this thing out. This second one though, oh my god. That second one was such a pain because it's a two-piece seal, so it actually spins on itself. So every time you're trying to hit this thing, it ends up just moving around as well as the shaft itself moving. So it's really not easy to get out, but with enough perseverance and just dedication to getting this thing out, you'll get it eventually. Just be prepared, it's gonna suck. This thing was a pain in my butt, but I finally got it off. So now we just gotta get these little clips out of here, and then we should be able to get these last two pieces out. Let's get this sucker out of here. There we go. Alright. Should be able to pop this out. Alright. That's one shaft down. All right, same thing on this one. I'll just pop this little clip out. And now we'll pop this sucker out. There we go. Let's just get that snap ring out of there. There it goes. All right, there's the planetary gear. Seems to be looking pretty good. So basically, I was just looking for any damage to the teeth of these gears and making sure that it spins freely without any restriction, and so far it looks good. Yeah, let's see if we get this bearing out. There we go. I'll pop that out. So for this part, what I did is I used the pliers to kind of press the retaining clip open just enough to where I could press the bearing past it, and then I flipped it over and pushed it out the rest of the way. Pretty simple. There we go. So the one major tip I have for you is make sure that you organize all these parts in the order that you took them apart. That way when it comes time to putting it back together, it's a hell of a lot easier. Okay, so as you can see, I have everything laid out here, all the different parts from inside the transfer case that we need to go over. We're gonna go ahead and clean some of these parts up and inspect them for any kind of damage and try to figure out which parts we need to order, which ones are still good. We're gonna start with all these shafts here because these are the most important parts. If they aren't good, then like we're pretty much screwed. So for the next piece, we're gonna take a look at this main shaft. I'm gonna get it cleaned up a little bit. Now, luckily for me, this thing was never run dry, but I could definitely see where this thing's definitely been worn a bit just from time and being used. There's some spots where it looks like there's a little bit of, looks like oil marks kind of, like where it's been kind of burned on there. And like this piece over here, you can kind of see the etching from where that bearing sat, but it doesn't look too terrible. I think that this thing would be reusable, but one of the things that we need to check especially is going to be this bearing surface here, because this is what's a piece of this thing actually rides on, which is this piece here. Sometimes it's a one piece, and then this one it's a couple pieces that are all connected together, but the way that goes is once it's on here, it rides on this piece, and we're looking to make sure that there isn't a lot of play here and that it spins kind of freely. Right now it's dry, so it's okay, but I'm just trying to make sure that it's not like wobbling in there or anything like that. It feels really smooth. And then of course I'm checking the inside of this piece here. There's clearly a little bit of wear inside here, but it's not too terrible. It looks pretty decent. It feels smooth. Yeah, so I think we should be okay with this piece here. But if this piece was loose, we'd have to end up replacing both of them. So now the next most common thing that goes are these forks. A lot of times these forks will end up wearing out, especially on these pads here. Fortunately for me, they actually look pretty good from what I can see. Like, they don't look bad. So next what we're gonna do is we're gonna inspect these sprockets over here. Now these things, sometimes they can wear out, but it usually involves it running out of oil or something like that. These things are built really, really well. They're really strong. I mean, look at how beefy these suckers are. It's kind of ridiculous, honestly. Now, even with that being said, there's still marks in here that I can see where the chain has been kind of rubbing on it a little bit, but it doesn't look too bad. None of the teeth are missing anything. It's just typical wear marks in there that would happen over time anyway. I mean, this thing's got 380,000 miles. If I wanted to be safe, I could probably replace these sprockets, but again, not cheap. And for right now, I think these things are actually looking really good. The inside of the sprocket also looks really good, so I'm not too concerned about that. However, when we're looking at the chain, that is a different story. Now, this is a really beefy chain. This chain is made up of a ton of links, too many for me to count. And the issue isn't necessarily that this chain is bad. I might be able to use it. It's got a little bit of twist to it right now, but it's got 380,000 miles on it. And over time, these things can stretch. Now, I would rather just replace this as cheap insurance than to reinstall it. I probably could get away with another 100,000 on this thing if I really wanted to, but I'm just not going to risk it. You know, at this rate, I'm already here. May as well replace it, and it's not that expensive, so that's what we're going to end up doing. So for the blocking ring set, it's basically a 3-piece clutch design, and this is used to switch between the gears. You'll usually hear like a grinding noise if it's bad. I'm basically looking for any damage on any of the bearing surfaces, or if the clutches are worn out. It's usually pretty obvious. Now, as far as the oil pump goes, we're just going to replace it because most of these kits come with a new oil pump anyway, and this one's got 380,000 miles, so it's worth it to just replace it. Okay, so one thing I messed up on is this piece right here. Now you can kind of see there's those two little marks right there, Now that's from me using a screwdriver to pry this seal off. Now this seal, fortunately, where it actually goes on this piece is right down to the bottom of that rust line, which this is below that, so I shouldn't have to worry too much about actual leaks on this thing. So I think we're gonna be okay because the rest of this part looks perfectly good. It's literally just where I pried that piece off. And luckily this isn't where any of the bearings are gonna ride, so we should be okay with this. At least that's the hope. So now as far as this piece goes, this is the tail shaft section of this thing. Problem is with this piece is that the bushing inside here, okay, I don't know if you can see exactly where that is. Now that bushing can be replaced. It's like 12 bucks, whatever. I'm pretty sure that that may be what was causing some of the wobbling in there. The other issue is, of course, the pump rub issue with these things. This thing's made out of magnesium. It's super soft and fragile. Now they sell a aluminum version of this, which basically fixes that, makes it a little bit more durable. And I'm just gonna do it because it's like 200 bucks. I think it's like 250 bucks for a new housing that's made out of aluminum instead of magnesium. I mean, this thing, I barely drug it on the ground and it just tore just like a chunk off of it. I could probably reuse this and it would probably be okay, but I don't want to have to doubt it or question it down the road, so I'm just going to end up upgrading that and fixing it since we're already this deep into this thing. So now the question is this going to end up fixing my truck? I have no clue. What we need to do is get this thing rebuilt. I'm ordering parts. We'll hopefully get them in here within the next couple of days, and I'll be able to put this thing back together and get it in the truck. Now, fingers crossed this will fix my reverse issue where I put it in reverse and sometimes it would fall out of gear. And then also the issue with the truck slipping. That may or may not be a transmission issue. Problem is that to rebuild that transmission is going to cost more than the truck's actually worth, and I really don't want to have to do that. So yeah, we're going to basically just bolt this sucker up and hope for the best. I mean, that's really all we got. So yeah, that's my plan. Hopefully by the time you see this, I'll have that done and I'll be able to get that out so you can see that part too. Hopefully it works out, but yeah, I don't know right now. I'm a little bit stuck in my head, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful. Hopefully you learned a little bit about these transfer cases, and yeah, I'll be sure to see you in the next one. Have a good day.